Hey everyone, I'm the Exalt Tai, and here's a guide on how to build Boey. He's a pretty cool guy, and he shares the same voice actor for Dimitri and Juan, which is pretty cool. Anyways, I'll do a quick overview of his stats, potential, any exclusive skills, and usage in certain game modes. And then we'll get into the build section. As always, if you enjoyed, subscribe. I do a lot of Heroes content and there's more to come. Now then, let's get started.
Have some of this!
Boey, Skillful Survivor, is a green tome infantry unit. And well, alright. So he's got a lot of super banes, which is unfortunate. His speed is his best dump stat, but that can hurt his BST. But after merges, it's gonna be alright. He's got good HP, superb defense, and 29 attack. What? Okay, so I knew he had low attack, but not this low, like 29 attack? Yeah, Boey can take a physical hit, but he's not that good at other things, taking magical hits, doubling a lot with his base speed, or dealing damage. Why is it 29? Why is it so low? Why did they give them an attack super bane? But hey, he's a 3 and 4 star unit. You can make a plus 10 out of that. So how about those stats at max? 36 attack is looking much better. Same thing goes for that 50 HP and 39 defense. 33 speed can still be dumped, but if you're looking to have fun, you can make a speedy build. Do I recommend it? No. Would it be funny? Yes. Because of that low attack, he will probably be forced to rely on a special for most of his damage. Boey does come with Ignis, by the way, and that works great with its high defense. Unfortunately, there are problems with that, like guard skills or the fact that tome units can't run any breath skills. You'll have to find ways to work around those flaws of his stat line. Also, if you plan on giving him a certain asset in a stat and merging him to plus 10, here's the comparison. For attack, he just gets plus 2 and his HP and defense is lowered by 1. But hey, 38 attack and 38 defense, that's kinda nice. Honestly, I think plus attack is worth it because Boey just needs some more damage output. It's the same plus 2 for defense. If you plan on having him rely mainly on a special for damage, then a plus defense boon might be better than attack. And for people planning on making him into an Omni tank for both defense and res, here's the res boon. Let's take a look at his skills. Inscribed Tome is the most important thing and Ignis is second. Bonfire is definitely a good option because it's faster, but it's less damage. His Tome is great for what it does and how helpful it is to Boey. Honestly, most of his builds should work around this Tome because it synergizes with him very well. Weapon triangle advantage against colorless units? That's amazing. People typically ran Raven Tome on him before he got the Refine, so this is just a Raven Tome but better. He also gets a close foil effect without the stat buffs. Actually, I believe he got the Refine before close foil actually came out, so good on you, Boey, pioneering the tinfoil. Anyways, it lets him counterattack physical close range units except for dragons. Funny enough, dragons are one of his biggest counters, if you don't run something like Fortress Res or Mystic Boost. But I guess it does make sense since he's afraid of Necro Dragons. He doesn't really want to fight them and he would rather run away. I forgot to include it, but hey, Dragon Slayers are great allies. Oh, and Na, the daughter of Noe, has Infantry Breath to help Boey proc Ignis faster. Aside from that, units that can buff his attack and defense are great. Sword units that are fast and run close calls / repels / spurn are terrifying for Boey. Have someone else deal with them. Boey has terrible res, so powerful red mages are going to tear him apart. Make sure you think of a plan to deal with them. Counters, as I said, red mages. Aversa is commonly used for her support capabilities and she also has great offensive stats to KO when needed. Thanks to that high defense, Boey can do tons of defense tanking, but that means chill defense will always target him, and that's not very good. Characters or weapons that slow down the special cooldown count really hurt Boey. His special is a big part of his damage output and being shut down is gonna hurt that. So that's all from a general stance. Let's see how well he can do in certain game modes. Arena? Well, you can use G dual infantry from Helbindi to score higher. I suppose Fortress Defense Res 3 can help with the scoring due to its high SP costs. He's not a bad choice for an arena team member, but he's got a lot of flaws to work around. He especially needs to be careful of those speedy sword units that I talked about before. Boey doesn't have that great speed, so they'll most likely get the max 40% damage reduction. That hurts his already low attack stat and his special damage output. You know where else you might see those speedy sword units? In Ether Raids, so Boey needs to work something out there. But for other Ether Raid problems, he can deal with Brave Lyn with his tome and high defense. He'll struggle against Brave Veronica, I mean, who doesn't, since his res stat is so low. So he's gotta run Null Sea Disrupt or it just gets worse. He could be your Omni tank on defense teams, but his mixed bulk is not that good. Even with Fortress Defense Res 3, it can still be a problem. But hey, he works well against air, and that's nice. What about story content? Well, in these story chapters, even in Lunatic, he'll do fine. In other game modes like Tempest Trials or Hero Battles, they'll start having high inflated HP, which can be a struggle for Boey and his lackluster attack stat. With his special, he can deal tons of damage and deal with that high HP. You'll just have to work around the absurdity of inflation. One of the bigger problems are long battles like chain challenges or hero battles with reinforcements. You need to keep Boey relatively healthy for him to keep up. You might have to run a healer or give him a healing special. The latter is not that good since he loses his Ignis or Bonfire. Now for builds. If you have other thoughts or builds for Boey, feel free to comment them down below. Just so you know, for the sake of my sanity, Boey just has Ignis for his specials. You can choose if you want Bonfire or Ignis. Second, most of his builds are going to be at max stats, and that is because Boey at +0 is not that good. He's simply not worth investing a lot into until he gets some merges and support. But hey, for all those +0 Boeys out there, here's a simple budget build. Standard Triangle Adept Bowbreaker combined with Inscribed Tome's Raven Tome effect is great. He's a great counter to those pesky colorless bow units. Unfortunately, if they run Fire Sweep, then Boey will have to run Null Sea Disrupt, which is high investment and probably best on someone who can deal with staff units like Brave Veronica too. Oh, and with that high HP, he can run Infantry Pulse rather well. A different kind of budget build could be Sturdy Stance. He excels at taking physical hits, and with those attack buffs, he can deal some good damage back. Sturdy Stance 3 is a thing, but like, unless you really like Boey, then I don't think it's worth giving it to him. Sturdy Stance 3 is currently on Spring Idun, whatever, who's also a dual hero with Faye. They are incredible and very good. And I just don't think it's worth flattering a dual hero, a seasonal at that, to Boey. Anyways, it's a fairly standard enemy phase build with these stances in QR. Not very complex, but it doesn't need to be, it just has to work. This build could be an optimal Omni tank build for him. Fortress Defense Res complements Boey fantastically with the +6 defense and res. While the -2 attack hurts, the attack boon can cancel with it. Throw in close defense and Boey can take both physical and magical hits. Because if you don't take damage, you don't need to worry about dropping out of quick repost range. It doesn't matter too much which special he runs here, Bonfire or Ignis will still do well, especially since they get the defense buffs. If Fortress Defense Res is too expensive, regular Fortress Defense or regular Fortress Res can still work. Just swap with an ally and suddenly you get +12 attack and defense. +6 visible buff from Link and another +6 from bonus doubler. I didn't mention this before, but Panic Ploy and Sudden Panic work well for Boey. Reversing the foe's buffs makes his job of tanking hits much easier. Just remember that if he gets hit by Panic status, it will reverse the Link buffs and then everything goes wrong. With Attack Smoke, he can debuff incoming foes as they approach, thus adding to his tanking abilities. The next two builds don't feature the Inscribed Tome. This build focuses on taking ranged magical hits using double distance defense and sandwiches. I still can't get over the fact that we have sandwiches as a weapon of choice, but then again, that's not the weirdest thing we've gotten. I mean, Xander has an abnormally large carrot with his lance, Alphonse has that comedically large spoon, and Kagro, she just throws like an alcohol bottle at you. Well, okay, that last one makes sense. I know it's called the bottled juice, but let's be honest here, is it really? Oh, and you know what doesn't make sense? Hot Springs Elise with their rubber ducks. Like, that's BS. I didn't have rubber ducks when I was growing up. Where was I? Oh yeah, he gets +4 attack, +12 defense, and +16 res when a ranged foe initiates combat. It's fairly simple, just leave him in enemy range and he can take the hit. With sandwiches, he still isn't able to counterattack dragons, but it does give him some extra res which can decrease their damage. Funny enough, most of these skills come from Picnic Leo. Remember when I said that making a speed build might be funny? Yeah, well, here's the joke build, I guess. Madness Blast has Fury, which is great for boosting his defensive stats, and the Recoil helps him get into Desperation. Double Swift Sparrow gets him to 58 attack and 49 speed, which is pretty good. When he's not attacking, he has solid bulk to take hits and debuff foes. But in all honesty, someone else can do this much better, and why would you fodder Halloween La Rochelle for this? Hey, thanks for watching. If you have other thoughts or builds for Boey, feel free to comment them down below. Subscribe and consider checking out my other videos. You can find me and talk to me on Twitter at Exalt_Tai. I post updates for upcoming videos there. Now with all that, stay hydrated folks, and stay safe.